The throne room of Ignathther blazed. With heat that could melt steel, Queen Seraphine shifted her massive crimson body as three small ships descended. Through the volcanic clouds outside, her mate King Dreen watched the vessels. With golden eyes that had seen 5 centuries of rule, neither dragon had expected visitors today, especially not from the collective, the beings who entered wore environmental suits that hissed and clicked to keep them alive in the inferno. They were small, fragile-looking creatures from worlds of ice and water and gentle breezes. The lead ambassador bowed low, its translation device crackling. Majesties, we come seeking your wisdom in a matter of life. The ambassador gestured, and another member of their group moved forward, carrying a strange container. 3 months ago, our patrol discovered wreckage near the outer darkness. Human colony ship destroyed by some catastrophe. We found only one survivor. Dreen leaned forward, his massive head creating shadows across the obsidian floor. Women's, those are legends. Stories from the old wars. They exist, though rarely seen in the sector. The ambassador opened the container. Inside, wrapped in thermal blankets and surrounded by cooling units, lay a tiny creature. This infant is 6 months old. According to our medical scans, his parents died protecting his escape pod. We searched for weeks but found no other humans, no colonies, no rescue signals. Seraphine felt something stir in her chest as she looked at the baby. He was impossibly small, with soft skin instead of scales and no claws to speak of. His eyes opened, revealing a deep brown color, and he made a small noise. Why? Bring him here, Dreen asked, though his voice had softened. We are fire and stone. This creature needs cool air and gentle handling. The ambassador stepped closer, unafraid despite the heat. We chose you because dragons are known across all worlds for 3 things: your strength, your honor, and your protection of those who cannot protect themselves. This child has no one. His entire people in this region may be gone. He needs guardians who will raise him with love and teach him to be strong. He will die here. One of Dreen's council members rumbled from the side. Our world burns. Our food would poison him. This is madness. The ambassador produced a data crystal. We provide everything needed: climate control chambers, food supplies, medical information, equipment to last years. We ask only that you consider this. The collective cannot raise him properly. We are researchers and explorers, not parents, but you're a family. Seraphine moved closer to the container, her massive form somehow gentle as she approached. The baby looked up at her, at the creature of legend and nightmare that could swallow him whole. He should have been terrified. Instead, his tiny hand reached up toward her face. Without thinking, Seraphine lowered her claw. The baby grabbed onto one talon, with both hands holding tight with surprising strength. He made a happy sound, a laugh that echoed strangely in the throne room built for dragon roars. What is his name? Seraphine asked. Quietly, the data logs called him Owen. Owen Bradley, son of researchers Marcus and Jennifer Bradley. The ambassador watched the queen with careful attention. We understand if you refuse. This is an enormous burden to ask. Dreen rose to his full height, wings spreading across the throne room. My mate, think carefully. We have 2 children already. Our duties are many. A human child would require constant attention, constant care. He would never fit into our world. Naturally, Seraphine looked at her mate, then back at Owen, who still clutched. Her claw he already fits, look at him. Dreen he does not fear. He reaches out, with trust even though he knows nothing. Of us, his parents died protecting him. Can we do less? The king moved closer, lowering his enormous head to study the infant. Owen released Seraphine's claw, and immediately grabbed for Dragon. Snout, laughing again, the Dragon King huffed a small burst of flame that the cooling systems quickly dispersed, and, despite himself, he felt the corner of his mouth lift. The council will object, Dreen said, but his tone had changed. Let them, Seraphine replied. We are the king and queen. We decide what honor demands. The ambassador bowed again. We will transfer all equipment and supplies. Immediately, the collective will check on the child's welfare annually, but he will be yours to raise as you see fit. We trust your judgment completely. Over the next hours, workers installed a special chamber in the royal quarters. Climate controls, medical monitors, supplies that seemed impossibly complex for such a small being. Seraphine watched everything with intense focus, memorizing each detail while Dreen met with the protesting council members. That night, as Ignathther's 3 moons rose over the volcanic peaks, Seraphine sat in the modified chamber where temperatures were barely warm instead of blazing. Owen lay in her claws, wrapped carefully so her natural heat would not burn him. She hummed an old dragon lullaby when she had sung to Pirais and Sinindra when they were hatchlings. That Owen's eyes grew heavy. He yawned, showing tiny teeth, and curled against her palm as he drifted to sleep. Seraphine felt the weight of her decision. This would not be easy. The child would face mockery, danger, and constant challenges, but as she looked at his peaceful face, she knew with complete certainty that this was right. Welcome home, little one, she whispered in the human tongue, words she had learned from the data files. You are ours now. We will teach you to be strong, to be wise, and to breathe fire in your own way. Outside, Dreen issued decree. The human child was now Prince Owen of Ignathther, with all rights and protections that title carried. Any dragon who threatened him would answer to the king personally. 5 years changed everything and nothing at all. Owen ran through corridors built for giants, his small feet making almost no sound on the polished obsidian. His thermal suit kept him alive in the palace heat, but he had long since stopped thinking about it. This was simply home. Owen slowed down. The voice boomed from behind him, deeper than thunder. His older brother Pirais lumbered after him, a teenage dragon whose wings were still growing into full size. Mother said, you need to be in the council room soon. Owen slid to a stop and grinned up at his brother. Race you there? That is not fair. Hallways are size for me, not for quick little mammals. But Piraxis was already crouching, ready to charge. Go. They took off together, Owen darting between pillars while Piraxis had to navigate carefully to avoid damaging the ancient architecture. Owen knew every shortcut, every hidden passage that dragons were too large to use. He arrived at the council room doors 3 full minutes before his brother, who landed with an undignified thud. One day I will win, Piraxis grumbled, but there was affection in his voice. Inside the council room, Queen Seraphine was hearing a dispute between 2 merchant clans. Owen slipped into his usual spot, a specially made seat near his mother's throne. The arguing dragons barely paused, used to the human prince's Presence during official business. Contract clearly stated delivery by the third moon. One merchant insisted, his green scales rattling with anger. Your delay cost me customers. The volcanic storms made flight impossible. The other countered, force of nature voids the penalty clause. The merchants went back and forth, neither willing to compromise. Seraphine listened with patience, but Owen could see the slight tightening around her eyes that meant she was growing frustrated. He studied both dragons carefully, watching their body language the way his mother had taught him. "Excuse me," Owen said quietly. Both merchants stopped and looked down at him. Some dragons still found it strange when a tiny prince spoke during council sessions, but Seraphine had made it clear his voice carried weight. "Yes, little prince?" the green scale merchant asked, his tone respectful if uncertain. "Did you lose customers permanently or just temporarily?" Owen asked. "I mean, did they find another supplier, or are they just waiting for their goods?" The merchant hesitated. "They are waiting. My products are unique, and you," Owen turned to the other merchant, "the storms delayed you by how long?" 5 days. Owen looked up at his mother. "Perhaps the penalty could be reduced by the same percentage as the delay. 5 days out of 30-day contract is 16th, so 1/6 of the penalty fee instead of the full amount." The room fell silent. Both merchants looked at each other, then slowly nodded. It was fair, proportional, and neither lost face completely. Seraphine's eyes glowed with pride. "The prince's wisdom serves us well," she declared. "Let it be recorded and enforced." After the council session ended and the merchants left, Seraphine nuzzled Owen gently. "You see what others miss, small one. Dragons think in absolute sometimes. You think in shades." "I just try to be fair," Owen said simply. His sister Sindra entered the chamber, her silver scales gleaming. She was older than Pyrrhus by 2 years and took her royal duties very seriously. "Owen, your language tutor is waiting." "You missed morning lessons again." Owen made a face but followed her obediently. The tutor was an ancient dragon named Scareth, who had served the royal family for generations. He was patient with Owen even when the humans struggled with the deepest rumbling tones of dragon speech that his throat could not quite replicate. "Your accent improves," Scareth said after Owen finished reciting a historical text, "though you still sound like a hatchling with a sore throat." "That is because I do not have a resonance chamber like you do," Owen pointed out. "My voice box is completely different indeed, yet you persist. That is admirable." Scareth pulled out another scroll. "Now let us discuss the Treaty of the Burning Skies. Tell me why it failed." Owen spent 2 hours with Scareth, then another hour with a mathematics instructor, followed by physical training with Paraxis. His brother was supposed to teach him combat forms, but it usually turned into play fighting that left them both exhausted and laughing. That evening the family gathered for dinner in the great hall. Dreen had returned from patrol of the outer territories. He listened as each of his children reported on their day. When Owen's turn came, he mentioned the council dispute resolution, thinking like a negotiator already. Dreen rumbled approvingly. "Good. Raw strength matters, but wisdom prevents most fights before they begin." A younger noble dragon named Sulfus entered during the meal, bowing to the king. He glanced at Owen and barely hid his sneer. "I see the pet mammal still eats at the royal table." The temperature in the hall seemed to drop despite the volcanic heat. Piraxis started to rise, his eyes blazing, but Owen put a hand on his brother's forearm. I appreciate your concern about table manners, Owen said calmly to Sulfus. I know my eating habits look strange to dragons. No fire breath to pre-cook food. No ability to swallow large chunks, but my mother says different does not mean wrong, just different. Sulfus's sneer faltered. He had expected anger or hurt, not calm acknowledgement. Dreen's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Sulfus, you will address the prince with respect or you will leave my hall. He is my son as much as Piraxis or Sinindra. Blood is not the only bond that matters. The young noble bowed hastily and retreated. After he left, Owen continued eating as if nothing had happened, but inside his heart was warm. His father had called him son without hesitation in front of witnesses, making it official in a way that mattered deeply in dragon culture. Later, as Seraphine tucked Owen into his climate-controlled sleeping chamber, she asked if Sulfus' words had hurt him. They little, Owen admitted, but mostly I just felt sorry for him. He does not understand that families come in all shapes. Seraphine touched his face gently with one claw. You are wiser than many dragons twice your age, little flame. Sleep well. Owen drifted off, surrounded by the distant rumble of his family moving through the palace. The sounds of home. The first dragon collapsed during a routine patrol. By evening, 12 more showed symptoms. Their scales dulled from vibrant colors to ash gray, and their internal flames flickered weakly. The royal physicians worked frantically, but nothing helped. Within 3 days, 60 dragons lay ill, including some of the palace guard. Owen stood in the medical wing, watching the physicians argue. He was 12 now, tall for a human, but still tiny compared to the dragons around him. His mother had forbidden him from entering the contaminated areas, but he could observe through the viewing crystals. The flame glands show no damage, one physician insisted, pointing at a diagnostic scroll. Yet the internal temperature drops continuously, perhaps a poison. Another suggested something in the food supply. Owen listened carefully, his mind working through possibilities. He had spent years studying both dragon and human medicine, fascinated by how different species solve similar problems. His human database, a gift from the collective that he had nearly memorized, contained information about parasites and diseases from dozens of worlds. May I see the diagnostic results? Owen asked quietly. The head physician, a dragon named Brasswing, glanced at him with tired eyes. Of course, young prince, though I doubt you will see what we have missed. Owen was not offended. He knew the physicians were desperate, not dismissive. He studied the scrolls carefully, comparing the dragon readings to his knowledge of human medicine. Dragons measured health differently than humans did. They looked at flame intensity, scale, hardness, and internal heat. Humans looked at cells, organisms, and chemical balances. What if you're looking in the wrong place? Owen said slowly. You check the flame glands because that is where the symptoms show. But what if something is hiding somewhere else and just affecting the glands? Hiding where? Brasswing asked, his interest caught. In dragon medicine, you scan for heat and energy. In human medicine, we scan for tiny organisms that might not produce much heat at all. Owen pulled out his portable human scanner, a device he carried everywhere. May I try something? Brasswing hesitated, then nodded. Oh. Approached one of the sick dragons, a young guard who was unconscious but stable. He ran the human scanner slowly over the dragon's body, watching for anomalies. The device was designed for human biology, but could detect basic life signs from other species. There, near the secondary lung chamber, the scanner showed a cluster of microscopic organisms that the dragon diagnostics had completely missed. They were feeding on the energy from the flame glands, but living in the lung tissue. I think I found something, Owen said, showing Brasswing the reading. Look here, these parasites are almost invisible to heat scanning because they absorb heat as food. Your diagnostics pass right over them. The physician stared at the reading, then immediately called for other medical staff. Within an hour, they confirmed Owen's discovery. In every sick dragon, the parasites were unlike anything in dragon medical records, but they matched the type of organism in Owen's human database that attacked energy-producing organs in other species. Now we know what it is, Brasswing said, but how do we cure it? Owen spent the rest of that day and all of the next in the medical archives. He barely ate, surviving on water and the simple rations his body needed. Paraxis brought him food repeatedly, but Owen was too focused to notice. His eyes burned from reading, but he kept going. The answer came from combining dragon and human approaches. Dragon medicine had powerful flame-based treatments that could kill parasites, but they were too strong and would harm a host. Human medicine had targeted treatments that were too weak for dragon physiology, but together a dragon antiparasitic, weakened by human compounds and delivered using human precision techniques, might work. Owen presented his idea to the medical team. They were skeptical at first. Mixing dragon and human medicine had never been attempted, but with dragons dying every day, they had to try something. The first test patient was a volunteer guard who was young and strong. Owen prepared the treatment himself, his small hands able to manipulate the delicate human equipment while Brasswing prepared the dragon components. They injected the mixture carefully into the affected area. For 6 hours nothing changed. Then, slowly the guard scales began to brighten. His temperature stabilized. By morning he was awake and asking for food. The medical wing erupted in activity. Owen worked alongside the physicians, teaching them how to prepare and administer the treatment. His human size became an advantage. He could access equipment storage areas too small for dragons and operate the precision tools with ease. That on the third day, Queen Seraphine fell ill. Owen was examining another patient when word came. He dropped everything and ran to his mother's chambers, his heart pounding with fear he had not felt since he was very small. Seraphine lay on a resting platform, her beautiful crimson scales turned gray and dull. Her breathing was labored. Dreen sat beside her, looking more frightened than Owen had ever seen him. I will fix this, Owen said firmly, though his voice shook. I will not lose you. He prepared the treatment personally, double-checking every measurement. Brasswing assisted, but Owen's hands did the delicate work. As he injected the medicine, Owen talked to his mother in both dragon tongue and human language, telling her about his day, about his studies, about silly things Paraxis had done. He held a massive claw with both His hands, "You have to get better," he whispered. "You taught me everything. How to read dragon emotions, how to speak with authority, how to be brave. When I am scared, I still need you." Seraphine's golden eyes opened slightly. She could not speak, but she squeezed his hand gently with one claw tip. Owen did not leave her side for 2 days. He slept sitting up, monitored her temperature constantly, and adjusted treatments as needed. Dreen brought him food, Sin brought him blankets, Piraxes stood guard at the door, refusing to let anyone disturb them. On the second night, Seraphine's fever broke. Her scales began to regain color, starting from her head and spreading down her body. By dawn, she was breathing normally. By midday, she was sitting up and demanding to know what had happened to her kingdom while she was ill. Owen collapsed from exhaustion shortly after, but he was smiling. For years passed in what felt like moments. Owen stood on the landing platform, watching ships arrive for the annual summit. He was 16, now lean and strong from years of training in higher gravity than humans were meant for. His armor was a masterwork of dragon forging and human technology, making him look like a warrior from ancient Earth legends. The summit gathered representatives from 20 different species to discuss trade and peace. Owen served as one of his father's official diplomats, now a role he had earned through skill rather than birthright. His unique position as a human raised by dragons made him valuable in negotiations. He understood perspectives that pure dragons sometimes missed. Ambassador Luss of the Verdant worlds descended from her ship, her plant-based biology requiring constant moisture. Owen had met her twice before and respected her sharp mind, but today she carried something unusual, a data crystal that gleamed with urgency. "Prince Owen," she greeted him formally, "I bring information that concerns you personally. May we speak privately?" They moved to a shielded chamber where other species could survive comfortably. Owen's armor regulated his temperature, while Lee's activated her moisture field. She handed him the data crystal without preamble. "Humans are not extinct," she said. "Hidden colonies exist in the far systems, survivors of the great diaspora, living quietly to avoid conflicts with species who remember the old wars. We recently made contact with one such group." Owen felt his heart skip. He had always known logically that other humans must exist somewhere, but hearing it confirmed was different. "Do they know about me? They know of the colony ship your parents were on. Some even knew your parents by reputation. They were scientists, well respected in their community." Lees watched his reaction carefully. "They would welcome contact with you if you wished." Owen held the crystal, feeling its weight. "Why tell me this now?" "Because you are old enough to choose. You have a family here clearly, but you also have a heritage, a species, a culture beyond these walls. I thought you deserved to know." That night Owen sat in his chambers, the crystal untouched on his desk. Sindra found him there staring at nothing. "You are troubled," she observed, settling her bulk carefully. "The large space, the ambassador's news." "I do not know what to feel," Owen admitted. "This is my home, you're my family, but I have never met another human. I do not know what human culture is beyond data files. What if I am missing something important?" Cinder was quiet for a moment. "When I first saw you as a hatchling, I thought you were a strange pet mother had adopted. I did Not understand, but you became my brother through time and choice. If you need to explore your human heritage, that is not unmake our bond. Owen looked at his sister, this enormous being who could destroy buildings, but chose instead to offer comfort. What if I meet them and realize I belong there? Instead, then you belong there. Sindra said simply, love is not a cage. Little brother, it is a foundation you can always return to. The next morning, Owen spoke with his parents. Seraphine listened to his concerns without interruption, then pulled them close. With one claw, you can love your dragon family and still be curious about humans, she said. These things are not opposite, they are layers. Go meet them. Learn about where you came from. You will always be our son. Dreen arranged for Owen to visit a human settlement on a neutral world called Haven. The journey took 3 days. Owen spent them reviewing what little he knew about human customs, suddenly nervous in a way he had not felt in years. Haven was beautiful, with green forests and blue water and air that felt strange in its gentleness. The human settlement was small, maybe 200 people who had chosen to live away from the larger colonies. They gathered to meet him, their faces full of curiosity. Owen felt immediately out of place. These humans moved differently, talked differently, even smiled differently than he expected. They seemed fragile to him after years among dragons. Their voices were so quiet he had to strain to hear clearly. An older woman named Ruth stepped forward. She had gray hair and kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. Welcome, Owen. We heard stories about you, the human prince of dragons. They showed him around the settlement. The buildings were human-sized, which felt cramped after palace halls. The food was familiar from his studies, but tasted strange. People asked constant questions about dragons, most of them based on fear or misunderstanding. Is it true they eat other sentient species? One young man asked. No, Owen said, frustrated. Dragons are honorable. They have strict laws about diet and behavior, but they are predators, violent by nature. So are humans. Encountered, we hunted prey, we made weapons, we fought wars. Does that make us monsters? Dragons are complicated beings with culture, art, philosophy, and love, just like us. The young man looked skeptical, and Owen realized convincing him would take more than words. These people had never lived with dragons. They only knew old stories and prejudice. Ruth found him later sitting alone by a stream, feeling disconnected. I thought meeting humans would feel like coming home, Owen admitted, but I feel more alien here than I do on Ignathther. Ruth sat beside him. That makes sense. Culture is learned, not genetic. You were raised dragon. You think like them, move like them, value what they value. Being human is about more than biology. Then what am I? Both, Ruth said firmly. Human by birth, dragon by raising. You do not have to choose one or the other. You could be bridge between worlds. She pulled out an old book, its cover worn smooth by time. This belonged to a family who died in the diaspora. Poetry from Earth. I thought you might like to have it, a piece of where your species came from. Owen took the book carefully. The words inside were in a language he could read but had never spoken aloud. He read a poem about home and belonging, about finding family in unexpected places. Thank you, he said quietly. Owen stayed on Haven for 2 weeks, learning what he could, but every day he missed the rumble of dragon voices, the volcanic heat of home, the sense of belonging he had always felt in the palace. When he finally returned to Ignathther, Princ was waiting at the landing platform. "Did you find your answers?" his brother asked. Owen thought about it, then smiled. "I found that my answers were already here." Owen turned 18 during the cold season, though cold on Ignathther simply meant temperatures that would only severely burn most species instead of instantly vaporizing them. The day brought with it the announcement every royal child dreaded and anticipated: the trial of fire. All dragon royalty must face the eternal furnace. Dreen announced during the morning council. Princ completed his trial last year, Sindra 3 years before. "Owen, your time has come." Council chamber erupted an argument. Half the dragons insisted the trial was meant for dragons only, that asking a human to enter the eternal furnace was execution, not tradition. The other half argued that exempting Owen would mark him as lesser, forever questioned as a true prince. Owen listened quietly while dragons argued about his fate. Finally, he stood, his human voice cutting through the rumbling debate with surprising authority. "I will take the trial," he said simply. "If I am to be recognized as dragon royalty, I must meet dragon standards. Give me the same challenge you gave my brother and sister. You will die," Brass Wings said bluntly. The physician had watched Owen grow up and spoke from concern, not cruelty. "The eternal furnace burns at temperatures that challenge adult dragons. Your suit technology cannot withstand it." "Then I will improve the technology," Owen replied. "I have 6 weeks until the trial date. That is enough time." Seraphine tried to speak with him privately that evening. "My brave, foolish son, you have nothing to prove. Everyone knows your worth." "Not everyone," Owen said. "Some still call me the human pet. Some think I am weak, that I hide behind your protection. I need to do this, mother, for myself," she sighed, smoke curling from her nostrils. "You are more dragon than you know, stubborn, proud and determined. Very well, but you will not face this alone." Owen spent the next weeks in the forges working alongside dragon master crafters. They created a suit unlike anything built before, combining the best of dragon metallurgy with human engineering. It used dragon forged scales as outer armor, heat-resistant alloys from his human database as inner lining, and a cooling system that pushed the limits of current technology. Princ helped test the suit in increasingly hot environments. "The readings are good," his brother reported after one test, "but the eternal furnace is different. The heat there is not just temperature, it is ancient, sustained by magic and time. Technology alone may not be enough." "I know," Owen said quietly, "but it is all I have." Some conservative dragons protested his approach. An elder named Ironwing spoke loudly at court. "Using technology is cheating. The trial is meant to test natural ability, not engineering skill." Sindra responded. "Before Owen could, dragons use their scales, their fire, their wings. These are natural to us. Owen uses his mind, his creativity, his determination. These are natural to him. Both are using the advantages we were born with." The debate raged until Dreen settled it with royal decree. O could use his suit. The trial would proceed. The morning of the trial, Owen stood at the entrance to the eternal furnace. The tunnel descended deep into Ignathther's volcanic core, where temperatures existed that could melt most known metals, the goal was simple. Reach the center chamber, retrieve an ancient medallion and return. Most young dragons completed it in an hour. Owen sealed his suit, checked every system twice, and stepped into the tunnel. The heat slammed into him, immediately overwhelming even with the suit's protection. He walked forward step by careful step as the temperature climbed higher than his suit had ever been tested for. The tunnel seemed endless. Owen focused on breathing, on moving, on not thinking about the heat. Readings climbing past safe levels. His suit groaned and hissed. Cooling systems working at maximum capacity. Sweat poured down his face, evaporating almost instantly. Halfway down, the first system failed. The outer temperature regulator cracked, unable to handle the sustained extreme heat. Owen compensated, rerouting power to the backup systems. He kept walking. Walls glowed red, then white, then colors that should not exist in nature. Owen's vision blurred from a heat. He could feel his skin burning even through the suit. Every breath hurt, but he thought of his mother's pride, his father's trust, his siblings' faith. He thought of every dragon who said a human could not do this. That he walked forward. The center chamber opened. Before him, a vast space of liquid fire and stone. The medallion hung suspended over a pool of magma, reachable only by a narrow bridge of obsidian. Owen stepped onto the bridge. His boot melted, partially on contact, fusing to the stone to T. That moment his suit failed completely. The cooling systems died. The protective barriers collapsed. Owen stood in heat that should kill him instantly, but he had spent 18 years conditioning his body to temperatures no human was meant to survive. Years of living on Ignathther, carefully building tolerance, pushing limits incrementally. He had minutes, maybe less, but it was enough. Owen ran. He grabbed the medallion, burning his hand in the process, and sprinted back toward the tunnel. His skin blistered. His lungs screamed. Every step was agony. He did not care. He would complete this or die. Trying and dying was not an option, because his family was waiting. The tunnel felt longer going back. Owen's vision darkened at the edges. He stumbled, caught himself, kept moving. He could smell his own flesh burning. His mind started to drift, but he forced it back to focus. Light appeared ahead. The tunnel exit. Owen pushed himself harder, drawing on reserves he did not know he had. He burst out of the entrance and collapsed, the medallion still clutched in his burned hand. Dragons surrounded him immediately. Medical teams worked frantically while Seraphine roared orders. Owen drifted in and out of consciousness, but he heard his father's voice, thick with emotion. He did it. Our son did it. The recovery took weeks. Owen lay in medical chambers, his body slowly healing from burns that should have killed him. His family visited constantly. Paraxis read to him. Sindra brought news from court. Seraphine and Dreen took turns keeping watch. When Owen finally stood before the court again, bandaged but alive, Dreen placed a medallion around his neck. You have passed the trial of fire. Through courage, determination, and refusal to surrender, you have proven yourself, not despite being human, but through the very qualities that make humanity strong. You are my son, my prince, and my pride. The court erupted in respectful roars. Even Ironwing bowed his head in acknowledgement. Owen had earned his place through fire. Literally and completely. 2 years of peace followed the trial. Owen negotiated 3 major treaties, established cultural exchange programs, and became known across multiple systems as the bridge between species. Dragons and humans began trading openly for the first time in generations. Other species saw the example and followed, creating connections that had seemed impossible before. Then the Purity Fleet arrived. They called themselves defenders of humanity, but their actions spoke of hatred. 3 dragon merchant ships burned in deep space before anyone knew what was happening. The attackers left messages painted in the wreckage. Humanity first, death to beast lovers. Owen stood in the war room as reports flooded in. The Purity Fleet was well organized, well-armed, and absolutely convinced that humans who associated with aliens were traitors. They had declared Owen himself their primary target, calling him corrupted and demanding he renounce his dragon family publicly. They want you to choose, Dreen said, his voice steady but his eyes burning. Them or us, there is no choice, Owen replied. You are my family. There are terrorists hiding behind the name of my species. The Purity Fleet leader, a man named Richard Stone, broadcast a message to every system. His face was hard, his words harsh. I speak for true humanity. We will not allow our people to be corrupted by alien influence. We will not accept humans who betray their own kind by serving monsters, Owen requested broadcast time. In response, standing before cameras with his dragon family behind him, he spoke calmly and clearly. My name is Owen Bradley. I am human by birth and dragon by family. I lost my biological parents when I was 6 months old. King Dreen and Queen Seraphine could have let me die. Instead, they chose love. They raised me, taught me, protected me, and gave me every opportunity to thrive. They're not monsters, they're my parents. He paused, letting that sink in. The Purity Fleet claims to speak for humanity, but they only speak for fear. I have met humans on Haven and other colonies. Most of them are good people who want peace, not violence. They understand that different does not mean enemy. They know that family is built through choice and love, not just biology. Owen gestured to Pirais and Sinindra standing behind him. These are my brother and sister. They taught me to be brave, to think clearly, to laugh at myself. This is my family, and I will not renounce them because narrow minds cannot understand. The response was immediate and divided. Some humans applauded Owen's words, others joined the Purity Fleet's cause. The attacks escalated. The fleet attempted to raid Ignathther itself, expecting to find human prisoners or slaves. Instead, they found something that broke their narrative completely: human exchange. Students living freely, studying dragon culture by choice, human families living on Ignatth's moon, trading peacefully with dragons, human scientists working alongside dragon researchers, people who had chosen to be there, who saw dragons as allies and friends. The raid failed. Dragon defenses were too strong, but more importantly, the Purity Fleet soldiers saw with their own eyes that their assumptions were wrong. Some defected immediately, others retreated in confusion. Owen led the diplomatic response personally. He opened communication channels and offered the fleet leaders a choice: violence or understanding. He invited them to visit, to see for themselves, to meet the humans who lived peacefully with dragons. Most refused. Richard Stone broadcast another message filled with Rage and threats, but a few accepted. Pilot named Daniel arrived on Ignathther, expecting a nightmare and found instead a civilization built on honor and mutual respect. I was told dragons were savage beasts. Daniel admitted to Owen. I was told they kept you prisoner, used you for propaganda. Does it look like I'm a prisoner? Owen asked. They stood in the palace gardens, a rare, cool area where humans could walk comfortably. Princ was teaching a group of dragon hatchlings nearby while Sinra discussed trade agreements with visiting merchants. I'm free to leave whenever I wish. I stay because this is home. Daniel watched the scene, his certainty crumbling. What do I tell the others? Tell them the truth. Owen said that families come in all forms, that humans do not have to hate everyone different from us. That strength comes from standing together, not tearing each other apart. Daniel returned to the fleet and spoke honestly about what he had seen. Some listened, many did not. But cracks appeared in the fleet's unity. More humans defected, more colonies spoke out against the violence. The turning point came when Ruth from Haven made a system-wide broadcast. The elderly woman who had given Owen his poetry book spoke with the authority of age and experience. I survived the diaspora. I watched our species scatter and hide because we were afraid. Owen represents something different, a future where humans do not have to live in fear, where we can build bridges instead of walls. The Purity Fleet claims to protect humanity, but they only protect hatred. Real strength is loving someone different from yourself. Her words reach people the way Owen's could not. She was human through and through, with no dragon family to complicate her message. When she endorsed Owen and his choices, thousands of humans listened. The Purity Fleet fractured. Some members laid down their weapons, others retreated to the far edges of known space, bitter and unreconciled. Richard Stone disappeared, his location unknown. The immediate threat ended not with war, but with minds changing, one person at a time. A celebration marking the peace. Owen stood with his family while dignitaries from dozens of species gathered. Ambassador Luss approached with 2 human children, orphans whose parents had died in the fleet's violence. The collective found them drifting in an escape pod. She explained, given your unique experience, would your family consider taking them in? Seraphine looked at the frightened children, then at Owen. He knelt down to their level and spoke gently in human language. You are safe now. I know you were scared. I was scared too when I lost my parents, but this family saved me, raised me, loved me. They will do the same for you if you let them. The older child, a girl maybe 7 years old, stared at Owen. Are those really your parents? The dragons? Yes, Owen said simply. They really are. The girl looked at Seraphine's massive form, at the creature that could kill her with one claw. Will they eat us? No, Owen laughed, but they will probably spoil you terribly. My mother is very soft-hearted despite her scary appearance. Seraphine rumbled with amusement, smoke curling from her nostrils. I do not spoil, I simply ensure proper care. You gave me 12 extra desserts last week, Owen pointed out. The younger child, a boy about 4, giggled at that.